Rain fell softly over the strict HOA neighborhood, the kind of rain that seemed afraid to touch the perfect houses without permission. Every lawn looked freshly trimmed, every porch light glowed with the same warm brightness, and every window held the same silent warning. Strangers were watched here. Outsiders were judged here. Nothing was allowed to be imperfect, not even the rain, not even the darkness. But outside this polished world, across the main road where the bus stop flickered with broken yellow lights, life was very different. The small old diner beside the bus stop smelled like burnt coffee and tired dreams. Inside, the evening crowd had left, leaving only the sound of dripping water from the roof and a single waitress cleaning the counter. Her name was Lena Hart, 27 years old, thin as a shadow, wearing old shoes that always seemed one shift away from falling apart. She worked double shifts every day, sometimes triple, because bills didn't stop, rent didn't care, and her salary never came on time. She was the kind of person who helped everyone but received help from no one. She wiped her forehead, picked up her small dinner box, leftovers the cook allowed her to take home, and walked outside into the cold night. She hadn't eaten since morning, but she told herself she would eat at home, quietly, alone, seated near the tiny window of her tiny apartment where she could see the glow of the rich HOA houses far away. She sometimes pretended that one day she would live there too, in a place where roofs didn't leak and people didn't count every dollar. But tonight she wasn't thinking about dreams. She was thinking about her aching feet, her empty stomach, and how her landlord threatened her again for rent. As she stepped out into the night, something caught her eye. Near the diner's side wall, a little boy was sitting alone on the cold ground. His knees were pulled to his chest, his small arms wrapped tightly around them. His clothes were dirty, thin, and far too light for the cold weather. His feet were bare. In this weather, in this neighborhood, Lena froze. Her heart felt a strange pull, something soft, something painful. She walked closer, slowly, afraid he might run. But he didn't. He only lifted his head a little, and when his eyes met hers, she felt something break inside her. Those eyes didn't look like a child's eyes. They looked older, tired, afraid of things a child should never know. He didn't speak. He didn't ask for anything. He just sat there shivering. Without thinking, without hesitation, Lena knelt down next to him, ignoring the cold, wet ground soaking her jeans. She opened her dinner box. A simple meal, rice, a piece of chicken, some vegetables. It wasn't much. It wasn't enough for even her. But she placed it gently in front of him. "Here," she whispered softly. "Eat this." The boy's eyes widened, shocked, confused, like someone who had not seen kindness in a very long time. His small hands shook as he looked at the food, then at her, then back at the food. For a few seconds he didn't move, and then he whispered in a trembling voice, so small, so scared, that Lena felt her heart twist. "They will punish me if I take food." Lena blinked. "Who will punish you?" The boy stared at the ground but didn't speak. It was as if his voice had locked itself inside his chest. Before Lena could ask again, before she could calm him, before she could understand, she heard the low hum of an engine. A black SUV rolled slowly down the empty road. It was the kind of car that didn't belong anywhere near this broken old diner. The kind of car people in this area feared. The boy instantly reacted. His entire small body stiffened, and he hid behind Lena, pressing his back against the wall, trembling like someone expecting a beating. Lena's breath caught. The SUV slowed more, then stopped. A tinted window rolled down only an inch, just enough for someone inside to look out. And from that small black slit, a pair of cold, sharp eyes stared directly at Lena. Not curious eyes, not kind eyes. Eyes that studied her like she had made a mistake. A dangerous mistake. The boy hid deeper behind her, gripping her shirt with desperate fingers. Lena's heart pounded so hard she felt it in her throat. She had no idea who the person inside was, but everything about the moment felt wrong. The rain sounded louder. The night felt darker. And then, without a word, the window rolled up and the SUV slowly drove away. But the fear it left behind stayed in the air like smoke. Lena turned to the boy. Do you know that car? The boy didn't nod, didn't shake his head. He just whispered again, "They watch me." "Who watches you?" Lena asked gently, but he didn't answer. He only took a weak breath and stared at her dinner box like he wanted to eat, but was too scared to touch it. Lena, her heart aching, gently nudged the box closer. "It's okay. You can eat. No one is here now." The boy looked around nervously, then lifted a spoon with tiny trembling fingers. He ate like someone who hadn't eaten in days. Fast but scared, hungry but frightened of each bite. Lena didn't move. She just watched, her chest tightening with each spoonful he took. Whoever they were, they had starved him. Whoever watched him from that SUV, they controlled him. And whoever controlled him clearly didn't want him touching food. Lena felt something deep in her heart. Not anger, not fear. Something stronger. Promise. A need to protect him. When the boy finished, he wiped his face with the back of his hand, as if he was used to cleaning himself quietly. He whispered, "Thank you," so softly she almost didn't hear it. "Where are your parents?" she asked. The boy only lowered his head again. Silence. Heavy silence. Lena sighed, stood up, and reached out her hand. "Come with me. I'll take you to the police station." But the boy instantly stepped back, shaking his head violently. "No. No police. No station. They will find me." "Who?" Lena pushed gently. His lips trembled as he whispered, "The people in the cars." Lena felt a cold shiver run through her. She looked down the road. The black SUV was gone, but she felt watched, like invisible eyes were still on her. The boy stepped back again, more scared now. Lena tried to step forward, but he turned and ran. So fast, so suddenly, that she couldn't even react. "Wait!" she shouted. But he disappeared into the shadows behind the old buildings, swallowed by the night. Lena stood in the rain, stunned, holding the empty dinner box in her hand, feeling something heavy settle inside her. Something like dread, something like guilt, something like a warning. She didn't know who the boy was. She didn't know who the people in the black cars were. She didn't know why a child would be punished for eating food. But she knew one thing: her simple act of kindness had touched something she should never have touched. A world she didn't belong to. A world that didn't forgive mistakes. As she began walking home, tired and cold, she noticed something strange. A second SUV, parked far down the road. Engine off. No lights, but she could feel it watching her. Waiting. She walked faster. The SUV didn't move. But the moment she turned the corner, she heard the engine start softly, following her path. Just enough to let her know she wasn't invisible anymore. Just enough to remind her that tomorrow, something was coming. Something big. Something dangerous. She reached her apartment, locked the door twice, then sat on the floor, hugging her knees the exact same way the boy had hugged his. She whispered to herself, "What did I get myself into?" Outside, somewhere in the darkness of the street, a car door closed gently. Quiet, slow click. Someone was still there, watching. The boy's last words echoed inside her head like a warning she didn't understand. "They will punish me if I take food." And Lena realized, this wasn't about food. This wasn't about kindness. This wasn't even about a poor child alone in the night. This was about power, control, fear. And she had stepped right between them without meaning to. Tomorrow that world would come for her, and she had no idea how deep this danger went. But the night already knew, and it was only just beginning. Lena didn't sleep at all that night. Her small apartment felt colder than usual, like the walls were listening to her thoughts. She sat on the edge of her bed with her knees pulled close, replaying every second with the boy. His voice, his fear, his shaking hands, the black SUV, the cold eyes watching her. Every detail gnawed at her heart like a quiet warning she couldn't ignore. When her alarm finally rang at 5 a.m., she sighed tiredly. Another long shift, another day of surviving. But today felt different, like someone had placed a weight on her chest while she slept. She walked out of her building and instantly noticed something that made her heartbeat jump. A black SUV was parked across the street. Same model, same tinted windows, same heavy silence. She froze. The SUV didn't move, didn't flash its lights, didn't roll its window down. It just existed there like a dark shadow waiting for something. Waiting for her. She pretended not to notice and walked toward the bus stop with shaking hands. Every step felt like she was walking deeper into something she didn't understand. As she entered the diner for her morning shift, she felt eyes on her again. Customers whispered. The cook looked nervous. Even the usual noise felt quieter. The entire place breathed tension. The manager, a kind old man who barely spoke, walked to her slowly and said, "Lena, someone came asking about you." Her heart stopped for a moment. Who? Men in suits. Black cars. They were here at dawn. Her fingers grew cold. What did they want? They asked if you fed a child last night. A boy. Lena felt the world tilt. Her throat dried instantly. The manager swallowed, uneasy. When I tried to ask who they were, one of them showed a badge. No name, no agency logo, just a symbol I didn't recognize. She felt sick. A symbol? Why a symbol? Who uses symbols instead of names? Did they say anything else? She whispered. Only this, the manager said, lowering his voice. They said, tell us when she arrives. Lena's stomach twisted painfully. Did you tell them? No, the manager said firmly. I told them you didn't come today, and I told them to leave. Lena breathed shakily, grateful but more scared now. Why would they come at dawn? Why search for her before she even arrived? Before she could process anything, the doorbell jingled softly. The diner fell into complete silence. A small silver bracelet rolled on the floor from outside and stopped right at her feet. Her blood froze. She slowly bent and picked it up. It was small, child-sized, clean, shiny, expensive. And on the inside, engraved in tiny letters, were two initials, a V. Her heart pounded so loud she felt it in her ears. This was the boy's bracelet. He must have dropped it last night. Someone must have found it. Someone must have placed it here. On purpose. She stepped outside fast, looking left and right, but the street was empty. No boy, no stranger, no black cars, only silence, heavy silence. She held the bracelet tightly in her hand, feeling the metal dig into her palm. Avi, who was he? What kind of child had jewelry like this? Why would he be starving? And what kind of people punish a child for eating? On her way back inside, she noticed something else that made her skin crawl. A security guard from the HOA neighborhood stood across the road near the bus stop. He was pretending to check his phone, but his eyes kept lifting toward her, watching her, studying her. The HOA never came this far out. Their guards stayed behind their rich gates. They didn't visit old diners. But today, one was here, waiting. He finally crossed the street and stopped right in front of her. Are you Lena Hart? She hesitated. Lying felt pointless. Yes. The guard lowered his voice. You didn't see a boy last night by any chance, did you? Lena's heart slammed inside her chest. How did he know? Why would a security guard from a wealthy HOA neighborhood care about a hungry child sitting outside a diner? Why are you asking? She deflected. The guard's eyes hardened. Because if you did, it's better for you to forget it. His words were cold enough to freeze the air around them. She felt her breath catch. Forget? What? Forget the child, he said. Forget his face. Forget you ever saw him. Why? For your own safety, he said quietly, leaning closer. For your own life. Lena stepped back, shocked, confused, terrified. What are you talking about? Some families, he said, eyes shifting around, are not families. They are power. And power doesn't want witnesses. He walked away without another word, leaving Lena standing there with the bracelet in her hand and fear crawling through her body. She rushed back inside the diner, chest tight, breathing uneven. The cook asked if she was okay. She lied and said yes, but inside she felt the ground beneath her shifting. After her shift, she walked home fast, hoping the SUV wasn't still there. But when she reached her building, her heart sank like a stone. It wasn't one SUV now. It was two. Both black, both tinted, both engine off, both watching her building like guards waiting outside a prison. As soon as she got closer, one of the back tinted windows rolled down slowly. Just an inch. Enough for her to see a pale hand. A ring. A symbol she had never seen before. And a voice she recognized instantly. Cold. Slow. Dangerous. The same voice she heard last night whispering from the SUV. "You shouldn't have helped the boy." Lena's breath caught brutally in her chest. "Who are you?" she whispered shakily. The window closed. The car didn't move. Neither car moved. They just stayed there on the street like silent shadows, claiming her doorway, blocking escape, marking her. Lena hurried inside her apartment, locking the door, then locking it again. She pressed her back against the wall and slid down to the floor. Her hands trembled as she held the silver bracelet again. V. Whoever this boy was, he belonged to a world far more dangerous than she imagined. The world that didn't want him eating, a world that punished him for being human. The world where black cars followed him like cages on wheels. And now, that world had turned toward her. Because she fed a hungry boy, a simple act of kindness had become a crime. And Lena realized something terrifying as she held the bracelet close to her chest. The boy wasn't safe. And now, neither was she. Lena's night turned into a battlefield inside her mind. She kept checking the window again and again, but the two black SUVs didn't leave. They didn't move, didn't honk, didn't make a single mistake that could reveal their identity. They just waited, silent, patient, watching her building like hunters waiting for the right moment to strike. When morning came, Lena sat on her bed staring at her shaking hands. She looked like someone who had aged 10 years in a few hours. Inside her chest, fear and confusion fought for space, squeezing her breath with every passing minute. She knew staying home wouldn't help. Those cars were not going anywhere, and she had to work. Bills didn't stop because danger arrived. Rent didn't pause because she fed a child. Life didn't care. So she gathered her courage, stepped outside her building, and froze the moment her foot touched the ground. The SUVs were gone, but in their place stood something worse. An HOA patrol car. White, clean, sharp edges. The kind of car that didn't belong anywhere outside the fancy gates. Yet here it was, parked in her poor neighborhood like a white wolf among starving dogs. The HOA officer leaned against the car, arms crossed, eyes cold. As soon as she stepped out, he straightened, watching her, following her every breath. She pretended not to notice and started walking toward the bus stop. But the patrol car didn't stay still. It followed her slowly, quietly, like a ghost car. 1 inch behind her, then 5 inches, then a few feet. Just enough to show her she wasn't alone. Just enough to show her they weren't done with her. When she reached the diner, she looked back. The patrol car stopped across the street and parked, waiting, like a guard assigned specifically to her. Inside the diner, people were whispering again. Today louder. Today with fear. A middle-aged woman sitting at the bar counter whispered, "He came again." The cook nodded nervously. 3 black cars were outside early morning, waiting for someone. "Who?" someone asked. "Her?" the cook whispered, tilting his chin toward Lena. She felt her stomach tighten. Her breath shortened. Everyone's eyes were on her. The manager pulled her aside immediately. "Lena, I don't think you're safe here." "Why?" she asked, though she already felt the answer. Because rich HOA people don't leave their gates for normal issues. They don't lower themselves to this side of town. They don't send patrol cars. They don't question waitresses. They don't look for random children. His voice dropped. Unless that child belongs to someone powerful. Lena swallowed hard. The manager looked around nervously before whispering. "Someone from the HOA came earlier. A woman. Strict. Proper. Expensive clothes. She asked for you by full name." "What did she want?" Lena whispered. "She asked if you took something from the child last night. Something important." Lena felt the bracelet burning in her pocket. She didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. The manager gave her a worried look but didn't push further. The rest of the shift was painful. Every time the doorbell rang, Lena flinched. Every time a car passed the window, she felt her heart jump. The HOA patrol car never left its spot. It stayed there like a silent warning. At lunchtime, the patrol car driver stepped out and walked inside the diner. Lena stiffened, her breath trapped in her chest, as he slowly approached her. He was tall, clean-shaven, with a perfect HOA uniform and a badge that shone brighter than her entire apartment. He didn't smile. HOA officers rarely did. But his expression was worse than a threat. It was calm. Too calm. He spoke softly, like someone explaining the rules of a game she didn't want to play. "You should stop asking questions about the boy." "I'm not asking anything," Lena said, trying to hide her fear. "Lying isn't useful," the officer replied. "People talk. Cameras see. Cars follow." She felt a shiver crawl up her spine. "Why are you watching me?" "Because you saw something you shouldn't have seen." "I only fed a child," she whispered. "And that," the officer leaned closer, "is the problem." Before she could respond, the officer walked out without another word, got into his patrol car and parked again, this time even closer to the diner door. Like a shadow she couldn't escape. As the evening arrived, tension in the diner became unbearable. Even customers walked in nervously, whispering about the HOA neighborhood. "Did you see how many guards they brought in today? They added a checkpoint near the northern gate. I heard someone important arrived last night." "No, I heard a child from a rich family ran away." "Ran away? From the HOA? It must be a big issue. They blocked 3 entrances and added new cameras. Surely this was connected to the boy. It had to be." Lena tried to stop herself from thinking, but her mind kept circling the same questions. What kind of child wears an expensive bracelet but sits starving on a cold street? What kind of family punishes a child for taking food? What kind of people follow a waitress in black cars? When her shift ended, she stepped outside the diner with a pounding chest. Night had fallen again, swallowing the street in cold darkness. But tonight, the darkness wasn't empty. 2 black cars, 1 HOA patrol car, all parked, all waiting for her. Her legs almost gave out. All 3 vehicles turned on their headlights at the same time. 3 beams of light cut across her face. Bright, blinding, terrifying. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She felt like prey caught between silent predators. The back door of 1 black car opened slowly. A man in a suit stepped out. Not young, not old. Perfect posture. Cold expression. He didn't walk toward her. He simply stood still, watching her. The second black car door opened. Another man stepped out. Same suit, same coldness, same silence. They weren't here to talk. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to send a message. "We know you. We see you. We are close." The HOA patrol car siren gave one soft chirp. Not loud, not aggressive, just enough to freeze the street. And then something strange happened. Something that made Lena's heart collapse inside her chest. All 3 cars moved out of the way, slowly, opening a path. Not for her, for someone else. A 4th car arrived. Bigger, blacker, shinier, longer than the others. A luxury car, the kind rich HOA leaders used, the kind only powerful families owned. The car stopped directly in front of her, engine quietly growling, never turning off. The back window rolled down, just an inch, just like last night, just enough for Lena to see a pair of familiar eyes. The same cold eyes that watched her outside the diner when the boy hid behind her. The same eyes that made the boy tremble. The same eyes that held power she could not understand. Those eyes studied her again, slowly, deeply, like she was a puzzle piece that didn't belong in the picture. Then a soft voice came from the car. Calm. Dangerous. You're making this harder than it needs to be. The window rolled up. The car drove away. The other black cars followed. The HOA patrol car turned and left. Within seconds, the street was empty again. Silent, like nothing had happened. But Lena knew everything had changed. Her world was no longer her own. The boy's fear was chasing her now. The black cars weren't just following her. They were surrounding her life, watching her steps, controlling her path. She walked home trembling, the bracelet burning like fire in her pocket. She whispered to herself with shaking breath, "Who is he? Who is that child?" But deep inside, she already knew the truth. Only children of power are hunted like this. Only children of dangerous families are protected by black cars. Only children of cruel homes fear eating food. And only children connected to darkness make the world of the rich move. Lena had crossed a line she didn't understand. The HOA neighborhood wasn't just rich. It wasn't just strict. It wasn't just controlled. It was hiding something. Something big. Something powerful. Something involving the boy. And she had stepped right in the middle of it. Lena didn't remember how she slept. Her eyelids burned. Her head felt heavy. And her hands wouldn't stop trembling. When morning sunlight touched her thin curtains, it felt like brightness didn't belong in her apartment anymore. Not after the night she survived. Not after the black cars lined up outside her life like shadows waiting to swallow her whole. She moved to the window slowly, her breath uneven. Her heart hammered when she saw something terrifying. Down the street, an HOA guard stood at the corner. Again. He pretended to check his phone, but his posture was stiff, eyes searching, waiting. For her. For movement. For anything. She stepped back from the window quickly. Every part of her life felt like someone else had taken control of it. She wasn't living anymore. She was being watched, being followed, being measured. Every second, every breath. She tried to calm herself as she prepared for work, but panic lived in her chest like a second heartbeat. When she stepped outside her building, the guard pretended to look away, but she saw it. The small earpiece. The small nod. The unspoken confirmation. She's here. Lena started walking fast, but he didn't follow. He didn't need to. Someone else was already watching. A sleek black car waited at the end of the street. Same style. Same darkness. Same fear. As she walked, it rolled forward slowly, like it was escorting her, guiding her, trapping her between its silent wheels. The streets were quiet, too quiet. Even the morning wind held its breath. By the time she reached the diner, she felt like she had walked through a tunnel of eyes, watching her, judging her, deciding her fate. Inside the diner, the mood was worse than yesterday. Customers whispered louder now. Some refused to sit near the windows. Others left early. Even the cook kept wiping his hands nervously. Something was wrong. Something big. The manager pulled Lena aside the moment she walked in. "Lena," he whispered, voice shaking. "I think you should go home today." "Why?" she whispered. "Because things are getting dangerous," he said. The HOA guard was here again, asking if you came. Lena's chest squeezed painfully. "Did you tell them anything?" "No." But they weren't alone this time. There were more. More. 3 men in black suits, he whispered, eyes filled with fear. And they didn't look like HOA employees. They looked like private security, the kind rich families hire. Lena's hands grew ice cold. What did they say? They said someone high-ranked is arriving today. Someone who wants to speak to you. Lena's heart sank deep. "Why me?" "Because of the boy, Lena," the manager whispered. "This is all because of that child." Before she could respond, the bell above the diner door jingled softly. But this time, it wasn't a normal ring. Felt like a warning. Like the doorbell flinched. The customers fell silent. The cook froze. The manager's eyes widened. Lena turned slowly, her stomach twisting, toward the door. Outside the window, black, 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 everywhere. Not one car. Not 2. Not 3. 20. 20 black luxury cars lined up across the entire street, bumper to bumper, forming a long silent wall of darkness. Engines running softly. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just enough to vibrate the glass of the diner. Just enough to freeze every soul inside. Doors opened. All at once. 20 black doors clicking open in perfect sync. The sound echoed like a command, a warning, a verdict. 20 men stepped out, all wearing the same black suits, same dark glasses, same emotionless expressions. They didn't walk quickly. They didn't run. They moved together, slow, synchronized, powerful. People on the sidewalks froze. Someone dropped a bag. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" Someone else whispered, "Who are they coming for?" Lena's breath collapsed. She stepped backward until her back hit the counter. One of the customers hissed under their breath, "I think they're coming for you." Lena wanted to deny it, wanted to say no, wanted to disappear. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't coincidence. This was a message. We're here. You can't hide. You touched something that belongs to us. The 20 men formed a straight line in front of the diner. Perfect formation. Not a single step out of place. They didn't enter. They didn't speak. They simply stood there, blocking daylight, blocking hope. The manager whispered, "Don't move, Lena." Her legs felt like water. Her heart felt like it would explode. Everyone inside the diner watched her with wide eyes. The leader, taller than the rest, calm like a man who owned everything, stepped forward toward the door. He didn't open it. He didn't knock. He simply spoke through the glass, his voice deep and cold. "Where is the woman who fed the boy last night?" A gasp passed through the diner. Everyone turned toward Lena. Everyone. The customers. The staff. The cook. Even the silence pointed at her. Lena felt her knees weaken. Her fingers trembled uncontrollably. Inside her pocket, the boy's bracelet felt heavier than metal. It felt like a chain pulling her into a world she didn't want to enter. The leader repeated, louder this time, "Bring her out." No threats, no anger, just certainty, as if the world already belonged to him. The manager stepped in front of Lena protectively, voice shaking. "She hasn't done anything wrong." The man didn't blink. "That is not for you to decide." "What do you want from her?" the manager asked. The man answered with a single chilling sentence. "She fed the heir to a restricted family." The diner exploded with whispers. Restricted family? Heir? What did that even mean? The man stepped closer. "Bring her. Now." Lena couldn't breathe. Every thought melted. Every fear sharpened. She felt herself step forward, almost automatically, like her body moved before her mind. The manager grabbed her arm. "Lena, don't." "I have to," she whispered shakily. "They won't leave." She pushed the door open. The cold air hit her face like a slap. 19 men straightened. The leader took one measured step forward. His shadow swallowed hers. He studied her without blinking. "Lena Hart," he said calmly. She nodded, her heart racing so fast she thought she'd faint. "You fed the boy." She swallowed. "Yes. You protected him." Her voice cracked. "He was hungry." The man's eyes softened for a fraction of a second, then hardened again. And then he spoke the words that froze every drop of blood in Lena's body. "You're coming with us. The family wants to see you." Her breath shook. "Why?" "Because," he said, stepping closer, lowering his voice, "you changed something last night that was never meant to be changed." The cars behind them revved softly. The street lights flickered. The world around her shrank into darkness and humming engines. The leader's final words were quiet, but deadly. "Get inside. Now." Lena realized something with chilling clarity. Her life wasn't hers anymore. The boy's world had reached into hers, and now she was being pulled into it, whether she wanted to or not. The moment Lena stepped toward the black cars, the entire street felt like it inhaled. Every sound stopped. Every heart in the diner froze. Even the rain outside softened, as if the world itself was afraid to interrupt the men in suits. The leader opened the back door of one of the longest limousines. "Get inside," he said quietly, with a tone that didn't threaten her, but didn't give her a choice either. Lena looked back at the diner. Her manager stood at the door, terrified, helpless. The cook hid behind the counter. Customers pressed their hands to their mouths as if watching someone walk into a storm they couldn't survive. Lena swallowed hard. Her legs felt like they belonged to someone else as she stepped into the limousine. The door shut behind her with a heavy thud, sealing her fate like a vault closing in a bank. Inside, everything smelled too clean, too expensive, too cold. Soft leather seats, dim yellow lights, silence that pressed against her chest. The leader entered and sat across from her. He didn't speak. He only watched her as the limousine began to move. Outside the window, the world blurred. Old buildings, broken roads, tired shops, all fading behind as she was carried deeper into a world she had no place in. The limousine entered the main road. Behind them, all 19 black cars formed a synchronized line. In front, 2 more cars blocked traffic. No horns, no stopping. Every other car moved aside instantly, as if the city already knew who these people were. The convoy drove toward the wealthy HOA neighborhood, the place Lena had only seen from a distance, glowing like a dream she would never reach. But today, she wasn't standing outside. She wasn't watching from far away. She was being taken inside. The giant HOA gates stood tall, guarded by officers in perfect uniforms. As the limousine approached, the guards straightened sharply and bowed to whoever was inside. No questions, no checking, no scanning. The massive iron gates opened automatically, the kind of opening that didn't happen for normal people, the kind that meant only one thing: power lived here. The limousine glided in like a king returning home. Lena's breath shortened as she stared outside. There were mansions. Not houses, mansions. Huge white buildings, fountains taller than her apartment building, perfectly cut lawns with glowing lights, statues that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Everything smelled of money. Everything looked like perfection shaped into stone. And she didn't belong here. Her fingers tightened around the silver bracelet in her pocket. The boy's bracelet. The boy who had been starving last night. A child from here? From this world? It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. The convoy stopped in front of the biggest mansion she had ever seen. A mansion the size of a hotel. White pillars, golden lights, a fountain in front with expensive marble lions. The kind of place where even the walls looked like they whispered secrets. The leader stepped out first. Another man opened her door. "Come," he said. Her legs felt weak as she stepped onto the smooth marble driveway. Her cheap shoes looked painfully out of place. Everything around her felt too bright, too sharp, too dangerous. 2 more guards appeared and guided her toward the entrance. She didn't fight. She didn't speak. She felt like she was floating inside a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Inside the mansion, the air was colder. The hall was big enough to swallow her entire apartment. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen stars. Expensive paintings stared at her from the walls. And at the far end of the hall, she saw him. The boy. The same little boy from last night. But he didn't look the same now. He wore clean clothes. His hair was combed. His face washed. But his eyes were still the same. The same scared eyes. The same sadness. The same fear. He sat on a giant sofa, feet not touching the ground, staring at the floor as if he wasn't allowed to lift his head. When he finally looked up and saw Lena, something inside him broke. His eyes widened, his lips trembled, and he whispered in a shaking voice, "You came?" Lena felt her heart shatter. She moved toward him, but 2 guards stepped in front of her instinctively. The boy stood quickly and shook his head at them, almost pleading silently. They stepped aside. Lena knelt in front of him, tears burning in her eyes. "Are you okay?" The boy nodded slowly, but his eyes said something else, something he didn't dare speak. Before she could ask anything, heavy footsteps echoed across the marble floor. A tall old man entered the hall, his hair white, his suit expensive, his presence powerful enough to make the guards straighten instantly. His eyes were sharp like someone who had seen too much of the world and didn't trust any of it. He walked toward Lena and stopped only a few steps away. For a long moment he simply observed her. Not with hatred, not with anger, but with something strange, something heavy, something almost like regret. "You must be Lena Hart," the old man said, his voice deep and steady. She nodded, unable to speak. "My grandson," he said, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Ran away last night. Grandson." The word hit Lena like thunder. She looked at the boy again. His small frame, his scared expression, the bruises faintly hidden under his sleeves. This child belonged to this mansion? To this powerful family? To this world of guards and black cars? The old man continued. "No one has shown him kindness in a long time. Not truly." Lena swallowed the lump in her throat. "He was hungry," she whispered. "I just gave him food." The boy clung to her sleeve tightly, as if she was the only safe thing in the room. The old man sighed, a heavy sigh full of shame. "He shouldn't have been hungry," he said quietly. "Not here. Not in this family." Lena couldn't stop herself from asking, "Who punishes a child for eating?" The old man's eyes darkened with pain. He looked down for a moment. Then he said something that sent a chill through her entire body. "His father." Lena felt her heart slam inside her chest. The boy lowered his head. The old man continued, voice heavier now. "My son is not a kind man, not a gentle man. He runs this HOA, controls it, owns it. People here fear him more than they respect him." Lena's breath hitched. Her mind raced with everything she'd seen, security, patrol cars, black SUVs. It made sense now, terrifying sense. "My grandson is punished for small mistakes," the old man whispered, his voice cracking just slightly. "He is isolated, controlled, hidden. He is not allowed to play, not allowed to be outside, not allowed to eat without permission. He is treated like a trophy, not a child." The boy squeezed Lena's hand tighter. She felt tears gather in her eyes. She whispered, "That's horrible." The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, and when he escaped last night, we searched the entire neighborhood. The guards chased him. His father went mad with rage. And then," he looked at Lena with something almost like gratitude mixed with sorrow. "You gave him food." Lena blinked as tears finally escaped down her cheeks. The boy looked up at her, eyes trembling. "Thank you," he whispered. "No one else ever helped me." Lena hugged him gently, feeling his small body shake in her arms. And the old man spoke again, his voice turning colder, heavier, more serious. "Because you helped him, you have become part of this, whether you choose it or not." Lena pulled back slightly, confused, scared. "What does that mean?" The old man breathed deeply. His next words were slow, sharp, unavoidable. "My son wants to speak with you." Lena felt the air leave her lungs. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The boy grabbed her hand tighter, whispering, "Please don't go near him." But it was too late. The heavy footsteps of someone approaching echoed down the hall. Someone powerful, someone dangerous, someone Lena wasn't prepared to face. And the old man said quietly, "He's coming." The sound of footsteps moved through the mansion corridor like approaching thunder. Slow, heavy, controlled. Each step carried a weight that silenced every guard in the room. The boy's grip on Lena tightened so hard, she felt his fingers trembling against her skin. His small voice cracked into a whisper, "Please don't let him take me." Lena's heart twisted painfully. She held his hand firmly, even though she didn't know what she could possibly protect him from. She didn't know this family. She didn't know the rules. She didn't know the danger. But she knew one thing: no child should fear their own father like this. The old man stepped aside slightly, lowering his head. Even his posture changed, the posture of someone reluctantly bowing to a power he didn't agree with but couldn't stop. The footsteps reached the entrance of the hall. Then he appeared. The father. The man who controlled this entire HOA. The man whose shadow stretched across the marble floor before he even entered. He wasn't loud. He wasn't monstrous. He didn't scream or stomp. But his presence carried a darkness sharper than anger. He wore a black suit, perfectly tailored, as if power had been woven into the fabric. His jaw was tight. His eyes were cold. Too cold for a parent, too cold for any human looking at their own child. He looked at Lena first. Not with curiosity, not with gratitude, with judgment, as if she had offended him simply by existing in his world. The boy hid behind her instantly, pressing his face against her arm. The father's eyes twitched in irritation, but only for a split second. He walked closer with slow, measured steps. "So," he said, his voice calm but sharp, "you are the woman who fed my son." Lena swallowed hard. He was starving. The man's eyes narrowed. "My son eats when I allow him to." The sentence sent a cold shiver through Lena's spine. The boy flinched violently. Lena instinctively pulled him a little behind her, even though she knew she shouldn't. Even though she knew this man could crush her world with a single gesture. The father's gaze dropped to the boy. "Come here," he ordered. The boy didn't move. His small fingers squeezed Lena's tighter. The father took one step closer, voice colder now. "I said come here." The boy shook his head slowly, tears forming. "No." The old man stepped forward quickly. "Enough," he said firmly. "He is frightened. He is undisciplined." The father replied without a hint of emotion. "He's a child." The old man snapped, something breaking in his voice. "A child you treat like a prisoner." The father's eyes flicked to his father, sharp, warning, threatening. "Do not interfere." Lena felt her breathing shorten. The air felt heavy, too heavy, as if the mansion itself held its breath. She finally spoke, trying to keep her voice steady. "He didn't do anything wrong." The father's eyes returned to her, cold, calculating. "He disobeyed me," he said. "He left the property. He ran away. And you," he pointed at her slowly, "you gave him food. You encouraged his disobedience." Lena felt a painful mix of fear and anger rise inside her chest. He was freezing and hungry. Any person would have helped him. The father's lip curled slightly. "Not anyone. Only fools." The insult stung, but what hurt more was the boy's silent shaking behind her. The father's eyes suddenly landed on Lena's hand, the hand holding the boy's. His expression hardened. "Let go of him." Lena didn't move. She couldn't. The boy squeezed her hand again, whispering in a broken voice, "Please don't." The father's tone dropped lower. "I said let go." "No," Lena whispered, her voice trembling but steady. "Not until he stops shaking." The father stepped forward sharply, too sharply. The boy let out a tiny, painful whimper. But before the father could reach them, the old man placed a hand on his chest, stopping him. "Enough," the old man growled. "She helped him. She protected him. She did what all your wealth could not. She showed him kindness." The father's nostrils flared. For a moment, the entire room felt like a wire stretched too tight. One wrong word, one wrong breath, and everything would snap. "You think kindness feeds a family?" the father hissed quietly. "You think kindness keeps enemies away? You think kindness protects people like us?" The old man spoke with steady conviction. "Kindness protects children." The father turned his gaze back to Lena, studying her like she was a criminal. "You work at a diner," he said. "Live in a rundown apartment. No family. Low income. No influence. Nothing to lose." Lena felt her stomach twist painfully. He continued, "People like you disappear every day. No one notices. No one asks questions." The boy suddenly cried out, "No, don't hurt her. She's the only one who talked to me." Lena's heart broke as she pulled him closer, her arms instinctively wrapping around him. The father's jaw tightened with frustration, not at Lena, but at his own son choosing a stranger over him. "Why?" he asked quietly, bending down to look the boy in the eyes. "Do you hold her hand instead of mine?" The boy whispered, voice cracking, "Because you scare me." The room fell silent, dead silent. The father blinked once. It was the only crack in his expression, the only sign he felt something, anything. And for a moment, Lena saw a shadow of guilt pass across his eyes. But it vanished instantly. His voice returned, colder than ever. "This conversation is over." He straightened and stepped back. Then he pointed at Lena. "You, follow me." She froze. "Why?" Because you now know something you shouldn't know, he said. And we need to decide what to do with you. The boy screamed, "No!" and threw his arms around Lena's waist, clinging to her as if someone was about to tear him away. Lena bent down, hugging him tightly. "It's okay," she whispered, though she didn't believe her own words. The father watched them with a mixture of irritation and something darker. Jealousy. He motioned to the guards. "Bring her." The boy panicked. "Please, please don't take her away." Tears streamed down his face as he clung even tighter. The old man stepped between them again. "She goes nowhere without explanation," he said. "Explain what threat she poses. Explain what crime she committed by feeding a hungry child." The father's voice dropped into a deadly whisper. "She interfered with my household." "Your household is broken," the old man snapped. "And she is the first good thing that entered it." The father stared at his father with hatred. Then he turned to Lena. "Fine," he said coldly. "She stays." The boy gasped with relief, hugging her tighter. But then the father added quietly, "But she stays under my watch." Lena felt the meaning hit her like a punch. She wasn't safe. She wasn't free. She wasn't done. She wasn't leaving this mansion until he decided. The guards stepped back. The father walked away, his footsteps echoing like a countdown to something darker. The boy buried his face in Lena's shirt, crying softly. Lena held him close, whispering gently, "It's okay. I'm here. I'm not leaving you." But deep inside, she felt the truth burning through her chest. She had stepped into a cage, a golden cage, a dangerous cage, and the father held the key. The mansion had never felt more silent, more dangerous, more alive with hidden tension. After the father walked away, his cold presence still lingered in the air like a shadow that refused to fade. The boy clung to Lena, his small arms shaking around her waist, refusing to let go as if she were the last safe corner left in his world. Lena held him tightly, her heart breaking with every quiet sob that escaped him. She had only known him for a single night, but she felt protective in a way she hadn't felt in years. Like fate had pushed her into his life for a reason she didn't understand yet. The old man watched them with sad eyes, eyes that carried decades of regret, anger, and deep pain. He waited until the boy calmed a little before he spoke in a low, heavy voice. "Lena, you must listen carefully." She looked up slowly, her breath still uneven. He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if the walls themselves were listening. "My son, the boy's father, is losing control," he said. "Not just of this house, not just of his child, but of the entire HOA." Lena didn't understand. "What do you mean?" The old man sighed, rubbing his forehead. "People in this community obey him because he has money and influence. But in reality, many of them despise him. They fear him. They follow him because he holds power over their businesses, their homes, their families." He paused. His voice dropped deeper. "And now, thanks to you, there is proof that he abuses that power." Lena blinked. "Me? Yes," the old man said. "You saw the truth with your own eyes. You saw the bruises on my grandson. You saw him starving in the dark. You saw him running for his life." The boy squeezed Lena's hand tighter. "Please don't tell him," he whispered. "He will get angry." Lena hugged him, her voice soft and steady. "I won't let anyone hurt you." The old man continued, his tone firm. "Lena, you can help protect him. You can expose what my son has done. You can break his control over this HOA." Lena felt her chest tighten with fear. "Me? I'm just a waitress. I have nothing." The old man's voice softened. "You have the truth. And sometimes, the truth is stronger than money." She hesitated. Her mind raced. The father wasn't just powerful, he was dangerous. She had seen the black cars, seen the guards, seen the fear they caused everywhere they went. "If I testify," she whispered, "he'll destroy me." The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, he will try." Her pulse quickened. Her hands shook. The boy looked up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Please don't leave me," he whispered. That one sentence hit her harder than anything else. Because in that moment, she realized something. She was the only person this child trusted. The only person who had shown him kindness. The only person who made him feel safe. The father's voice suddenly erupted from the hallway, sharp and loud. Everyone in the main hall. Now. The boy flinched so violently that Lena's heart cracked. She stood quickly and held his hand. "It's okay," she whispered, even though her own heart was pounding. They walked into the massive hall, the old man following behind them. The father stood at the center of the room. His face was stone, his eyes cold fire. All his guards lined the walls like statues. The entire mansion seemed to tighten around them. "I have made my decision," the father said. "About the woman." Lena's breath stopped. The boy whispered, "Please, no." The father's gaze swept across everyone. His father, the guards, Lena, and finally his son. "This woman," he said, pointing at her, "interfered with my household, broke rules, encouraged disobedience." The boy cried out, "I was hungry. I was scared. You never listened to me." The father's jaw tightened. "You ran away. You humiliated this family. You endangered yourself." The boy shouted again, "I ran away because you hurt me." The hall fell silent. The father inhaled sharply, his mask cracking for a moment. Pain, shock, something human flickered in his eyes, but pride crushed it instantly. He turned to Lena. "You will not speak about what you saw. You will leave this place. You will forget this child. And you will not return." The boy stepped in front of Lena like a small shield. "No, you can't send her away. She's the only one who cares about me." The father's voice cut the air like a blade. "Move." "No!" the boy screamed. Tears poured from his eyes. "I don't want your rules. I don't want your punishments. I don't want your life. I want her. She helped me. She saved me." The father's jaw clenched. His voice dropped dangerously low. "She is nothing." The boy yelled back with a strength no one expected. "She is everything you're not." The room shook with silence. The father froze. The guards stiffened. The old man's eyes widened. Even Lena's knees weakened at the impact of those words. The father's mask finally cracked. His eyes broke open for the first time, showing something raw, hurt, shock, but also realization. His son, his only son, had chosen a stranger over him, had defended her, had stood in front of her like a shield. The father stepped back, his breath uneven. For the first time, the powerful HOA leader looked powerless. The old man stepped forward quickly. "Son," he said firmly, "open your eyes. Look at your child." The boy sobbed harder. Lena knelt beside him, holding him close. "It's okay," she whispered softly. "You're safe." The father stared at them. A woman he despised, and a boy he didn't know how to love. His voice cracked for the first time. "Why?" he whispered, barely audible. "Why doesn't he run to me?" The old man answered quietly. "Because children run toward love, not fear." The father's face collapsed. Not fully, not visibly, but enough for everyone to see the truth. Enough for the walls of the mansion to breathe again. Enough for the power in the room to shift. The father closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, something had changed. A decision, a surrender, a realization. He looked at Lena with the eyes of a man who finally understood his own failure. "Stay," he said. The boy gasped and clung to Lena tighter. The father continued quietly, "Stay, and help him." The old man exhaled deeply, relief filling his face. The father finished in a trembling voice, "I don't know how to be the father he needs." Lena's eyes softened. The boy looked up at his father with hurt, anger, and hope tangled together. "Will you stop hurting me?" he whispered. The father swallowed hard. "Yes." "Will you stop locking me inside?" "Yes." "Will you let me eat when I'm hungry?" The father's eyes filled, not tears, but something close. "Yes," he whispered. "And," he looked at Lena, "will you help me learn?" Lena nodded slowly, her voice soft but steady. Yes, I'll help you. Both of you. The boy hugged her, shaking with relief. The father looked away, ashamed, but for once, not angry. And the old man whispered, almost to himself, maybe this family still has hope. Outside the mansion, 20 black cars waited. But for the first time, they weren't here to threaten. They were here to protect a family that finally started to heal. And the waitress who gave away her meal had unknowingly changed everything.